take me through the fire. You could ignite the flame inside of me. I'm on the road less traveled. I'm on my way to your highway. When no eye has seen, you will show me your heart, Lord. Show me your heart, Lord. Open up my eyes to see your mind, to know you. My soul longs only for you. Let me hear your voice resounding your words, creating a brand new heart in me. My desire is to love you. Know the light that will guide me through the night. You are with me in the battle, bringing peace to the war inside my heart. I know your love's no limits in every space. Your loving face, you're calling me out, and I'm ready. Open up my eyes to see my mind, to know you. My soul longs only for you. Let me hear your voice resounding your words, creating a brand new heart in me. Open up my eyes to see my mind, to know you. My soul longs only for you. Let me hear your voice resounding your words, creating a brand new heart in me. Show me your heart. Show me your heart, Lord. Show me your heart, Lord. Show me your heart, Lord. Open up my eyes to see my mind, to know you. My soul longs only for you. Let me hear your voice resounding your words, creating a brand new heart in me. Open up my eyes to see my mind, to know you. My soul longs only for you. Let me hear your voice resounding your words, creating a brand new heart in me. I searched the world, but it couldn't fill me. Man's empty praise and treasures that fade are never enough. And you came along, you put me back together. and every desire is now satisfied here in your love. Oh, there's nothing better than you. There's nothing better than you, Lord. There's nothing, nothing is better than you. Yes, I know it's true. Now I'm not afraid to show you my weakness, my failures and flaws. Lord, you've seen them all, and you still call me friend. 'Cause the God of the mountain is the God of the valley. There's not a place your mercy and grace won't find me again. Oh, there's nothing better than you. There's nothing more better
What's up, neighborhood? Thanks so much for hanging out with us for Church at Home this weekend. As always, there's a few ways you can stay in the loop with everything happening at Neighborhood Church. You can head to ncvisalia.com where you can sign up for weekly email updates. You can follow us on our social media channels on Facebook and Instagram, or you can take Neighborhood on the go. You can download the NC app on your phone or device. Make sure you're staying in the loop and staying in the know with everything coming up here at Neighborhood Church. I want to take a moment to say thank you to all of you who continue to give to the mission of Neighborhood Church. There's so much awesome stuff coming up. There's so much awesome stuff we've been doing this fall, and it's all thanks to your generosity. It's thanks to your investment in creating environments that help people experience the love of Jesus right here in Visalia. So thank you again. There's a couple ways you can give today. You can text NC Visalia to 77977 or head to ncvisalia.com/give. And now we're gonna head into our teaching time as we continue with Give, Serve, Love.
Good morning, Neighborhood Church. So glad you've chosen to tune in. We're in the middle of our annual generosity campaign where we come together and take time to give, serve, and love our community. Give, Serve, Love is our annual reminder to our city and county that we believe everybody matters to God, whether God matters to them or not. Give, Serve, Love is making a difference made incredibly easy. And last week we kicked things off with Give Week. And listen, if you haven't had a chance to give yet, there's still time for you to do that by visiting the website giveserve.love, giveserve.love, and hitting the Give Now button. We do not have a financial goal, but we do have a participation goal. We're asking 100% of you to give $39.95. And then we're going to turn around and we're going to give 100% of that money to our 5 community partners. And listen, these are game-changing dollars for our partners, but more importantly, these are life-changing dollars for the people they serve. So if you haven't given yet, make sure you're a part of helping us make a difference in our community. And just as a reminder, our 5 community partners are Salt and Light. They serve the homeless of Tulare County. Young Lives serve teen moms. The Justice Coalition works with the victims of human trafficking. Sleep in Heavenly Peace makes beds for kids that don't have any beds. And of course, our longest running partner, the Houston Neighborhood and Houston Elementary School. And listen, this week our focus is on serving our partners. And we've got plenty of ways for you to serve this year that take into account the pandemic. So you can serve in person or from home depending on your comfort levels. Now, to register to serve, it's very simple. You simply go again to our website, giveserve.love, scroll down to week 2 and click on the volunteer button. That's it. Now, just to give you a couple of examples of the types of projects that are out there, you can help us by delivering beds to kids in need through Sleep in Heavenly Peace. You can make baskets for teen moms filled with lots of important necessities. You can fill backpacks with much needed essentials for human trafficking victims. You can attend a live viewing of a documentary on homelessness and learn how you can help and be a part of the solution right here in Tulare County. Or you can even serve on our church campus, helping us prepare for a community-wide Christmas celebration. Listen, we're going to be hosting a drive-through light spectacular. It's going to be awesome. And we need your help wrapping lights around all these trees on our campus. And listen, like with giving, our goal is that 100% of us complete a serving project this year. My family in particular will be doing a couple of things. We're going to be doing a basket for teen moms, a backpack for human trafficking victims, and I'll be at the homeless documentary on this coming Tuesday night. Now, the question is, how are you going to help? How will you help? right? And listen, if you missed last week, our punchline was about taking a page from the early first century church. We discovered that the early church, when faced with a world very similar to our 2020, right? Seemingly unsolvable problems, natural disaster, chaotic political environment, in light of the teachings of Jesus, the early church, they asked 3 questions in regard to how they should respond to that chaos. Here are the questions. Who will be at risk? How can we help? And who should we send? And listen, we want to ask those same questions in light of the pandemic, in light of huge problems like homelessness and human trafficking, in light of a tense political environment. We're asking, who will be at risk? How can we help? And who should we send? And our answer to those questions are give, serve, and love. And this week, we're leaning into serving our community through our partners that are serving those most at risk in our city and county. And today, I want to do 2 things. The first thing I want to do is I want to show you the model Jesus gives us for serving. And then secondly, I want to introduce to you one of our community partners, Salt and Light, by having a conversation with their director, CEO, Adrienne Hillman. So, first, I want to take you to a scene from the life of Jesus. It's a dramatic moment in the life of Jesus as he's nearing his crucifixion and he has one last meal together with his closest friends and followers. And seemingly, in the middle of the meal, Jesus gets up and he washes his friends' feet. Now, this feels, I think, super strange to us, but it wasn't all that odd in Jesus' world, right? Remember, people traveled by foot on dusty roads wearing sandals, right? This would create quite a mess on your feet. So washing your feet at a meal was somewhat normal. However, what's not normal is that Jesus is the one doing the washing. This was a task that was actually even below a servant's role and was really only done by a slave in the first century. And Jesus, by washing his friends' feet, is saying, listen, let me serve you. Let me cleanse you. Let me help you, right? Now, I just want to show you a couple of highlights from the story. Here's how Jesus' friend John, who was there, records the event. It was just before the Passover festival. Now, if you're unfamiliar with the Passover festival, it's an annual Jewish party, really, to celebrate the Hebrew people being freed from slavery in Egypt, right? So again, it was just before the Passover celebration. Jesus knew that the hour had come for him to leave this world and go to the Father, right? We're talking about the crucifixion there. Now listen to what John records. Having loved his own who were in the world, he's speaking of Jesus now, having loved his own who were in the world, he loved them to the end. Now, for just a moment, I want us to look at this little phrase John tags on the end of this thought. He loved them to the end. Now, Jesus is about to stand up and get some water and start washing his friends' feet. But to set up the moment, John reminds us that everything Jesus does, his serving of others, everything Jesus does, every motive behind what Jesus does, everything is infused and motivated by this love. Okay, one more interesting thing about this phrase, having loved them to the end. When you read that, I think we're tempted to connect it to his crucifixion, right? We just read Jesus knew that it was coming. So that must be the end this guy John is talking about. But that's actually not the case. Because the Greek word that John uses here is telos. And it means until the whole project is completed or until everything is done. And we know, here's what we know, the project's still going, isn't it? Right? This redemption project that God had planned to invite humanity to live fully into the best version of themselves, to discover who they really are and what they were born for, right? That project is still going on. And until the whole world understands that this is the case, John is telling us Jesus is still loving them. He's going to love them to the end. His love is boundless until everything is finished. That is the motive God has for every single thing he does. And that's Jesus' motive as he stands up to wash his friends' feet. And listen, it gets awkward, right? One of Jesus' friends named Peter, after Jesus stands up, Peter tells Jesus, you can't wash my feet. And Jesus lets him know, he's like, listen, I'm gonna wash your feet. And then Peter responds with, well, then go ahead and just give me a bath. He says, wash my head too. Wait, what? Right? Peter, Jesus isn't going to bathe you. That's not the point. Stop making it weird. Right? So Jesus kind of ignores Peter, and he goes on and he washes everybody's feet. And then he says these words. When he had finished washing their feet, he put on his clothes and returned to his place. Do you understand what I have done for you? He asked them. Now that I, your Lord and teacher, have washed your feet, you also should wash one another's feet. I have set you an example that you should do as I have done for you. Now that you know these things, listen, now that you know these things, you will be blessed if you do them. Now, here's all I want you to see. Motivated by love, Jesus got up and served. Right? That's the punchline here. Motivated by love, Jesus got up and served. Now that we know, we should do the same thing. I think oftentimes, especially church people, we think it's about knowing. We want to know all the sorts of cool things about the Bible and Jesus, and we often call knowing more things getting deep. Let me just tell you, that's ridiculous. Knowing is easy. Knowing is simple. Knowing is the precursor to doing. Knowing, I would say, is shallow. Doing is depth. And now you all know, we all know, that motivated by love, Jesus got up and served. Now it's time for you and I to do something with the knowledge we have. It's time to get up and serve. Now, with that said, I would like to introduce to you my friend, again, the director and CEO of Salt and Light, one of our community partners, and someone who I know personally has been motivated by love and has gotten up and served. I want you to hear from her. Please welcome Adrienne Hillman. Well, Adrienne, thank you so much for coming and spending a few minutes with us. So I guess I just want to start by asking you, tell us a little bit about Salt and Light. I mean, what's the mission? What are you guys trying to accomplish?
Okay, so Salt and Light's a nonprofit here in Tulare County, and our mission is really to serve the chronically homeless among us here, and that's folks who have been on the streets for a year or more, or an aggregate of a year or more over a 3-year period. And our mission really is to create community wherever we go. So we're actually cultivating and trying to create a community of our own, of homes, and a place that has dignified jobs and purpose and relationship. We love human-to-human, heart-to-heart relationship. And in the meantime, we're going to be creating community in other places that there's already housing, but they're missing the community piece. So yeah, that's what we do.
That's awesome. You know, that actually leads me to another question I've been wanting to ask you. When it comes to the issue of homelessness, is it just more resources? Is that the answer? Or is there something else that you think we're kind of missing when it comes to addressing the issue?
Yeah, so, I mean, I think there's an argument that there needs to be more resources kind of poured into that issue, but I think that they need to be stewarded in a different way. And also, we don't have a lack of resources, not in Tulare County or really anywhere else in the United States. I think the real thing is that we forget that it's God's money. Right? We forget that it's God's time. We forget that all of those resources are God's, right? And so we're just kind of trying to inspire people into a lifestyle of service with the homeless and just kind of move that money and that time and those resources from one pocket to the next, right? And so I don't really feel like there aren't enough. I just don't. I just feel like we haven't been able to utilize them properly. And I really feel like one of the deeper issues really is more of a heart issue. I think what I've noticed when I'm in the realm and serving our folks who are experiencing homelessness, and then I'm also in other nonprofit groups and in these circles of people who are, helping, I notice that there's a real sense of judgment, toward that group of folks. And I think we forget about the really unconditional, radical love of Jesus Christ. And I always say that we can only apply love and grace to other people to the degree that we accept it for ourselves, right? And so I think the heart issue is that we're forgetting that this love is unconditional. And so we really want to inspire people into that unconditional love when they're serving folks out on the streets without judgment. So yeah, I think really what we're seeing is really more of a heart issue myself.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, I'm guilty. Guilty as charged, right?
We all judge. When our eyes were opened, we judge. We do it. But every time I start that, I start reminding myself of how many times I've screwed up and how many times I've gotten myself into a sticky situation or hot water. And I think how many times Jesus has forgiven me and how unconditional that grace is. And so it's much easier for me to extend that grace to my folks I'm serving with on the streets. Plus, I mean, I just love serving them. But I also just really feel like I want to, because they need it as much as I need it, right? And so I try to put that judgment aside. It's hard to help. It's hard to give up our resources. It's hard to give up our time, our money, you know?
Yeah, I think, I mean, so often, even when we're just driving around with our children, right? And they're starting to notice those that are homeless on the street asking for food or money. And it seems almost, we're so quick to say things like, well, they've done something to put them in this situation, or they're addicts, or they want to be there, or they, those kinds of things. And I think you're right. That keeps us from ever helping. Right.
It reminds me of how when people say, oh, well, it says in the Bible that the poor will always be with us. And I always say, well, yeah, it does. But I wanted to warn you, really, to not utilize that as an excuse to leave people poor and suffering, right? I think they'll always be with us because they're always a reminder of Jesus' love for us. And he's asking us to be a conduit of that love to those folks. So they're there for a purpose, and it's for us, not for them. And so to leave folks in suffering with that in mind is, well, frankly, it's offensive to me, right?
Agreed, 100%. I mean, to quote that verse and make it an excuse to not help is missing the point, I think. Yeah. But that actually does lead me to another question I wanted to ask you. Why is it, do you think, that Jesus is sort of constantly, and really not just Jesus, but all the authors of Scripture, they seem to really emphasize the marginalized in our community, those on the fringe of society, those that sort of are outcasts. Like, the Bible seems to care an awful lot about those folks. Why do you think that is? And maybe how are you connecting it to what Salt and Light's doing?
Well, I think it also applies to what we just said about that verse that says the poor will always be with us. It's like, I truly believe this with my whole heart, and I've learned this through my work on the streets, is that if we want to find God, we want to find the nature of God, that good, awesome nature, go to the extricated margins where people are. Right? As much as I love Neighborhood Church and as much as I love our community here, the nature of God is when we take what we've learned here and we go to those extricated margins, right? And so I think that's the call from the Bible. That's what we're being asked to do, and we're being asked to do it radically, and I can get teared up really quickly thinking about how much we have to do when we think about how we were called and where we're missing. And I think culturally, as Americans, we have an individualist culture. We don't have a community culture. And I think that's really the miss. I mean, community really is loving your brother and sister, understanding that we're truly all connected in God's real economy. And so
I love that. But that actually does lead me to a question that, and really not even a question, an ask of you. So I know a little bit of your story and how Salt and Light sort of its roots. But I wonder if you could tell us, why did you start Salt and Light? I mean, what happened that led to that? How were you motivated by love? Got to this place where you just got up and said, I'm going to do something, and it happened to be about the homeless in our county. Okay,
so a rally actually took place here at Neighborhood. The first part of that call, I really was sitting in the front row, and Steve Harms was preaching, and I don't remember even what the sermon was about. I just remember getting this word, and I didn't even know that was the thing, right? I just kind of heard this you're going to serve the homeless, and I remember being like, no, actually I'm not, because I don't know what I'm doing. And it was daunting and scary, and I was not a realm I had ever even touched. I mean, but as I've done my own personal work around why this would become such a passion for me, I think that part of my own core wounding is just around feeling like I don't belong. And that's just around my own personal story. We don't have to go into all that, but that's my big heartbreak, right? Are the places that I haven't belonged, the places I've been excluded from. And you know some of that story. And I think that's why it bothers me so much, because our folks who are living on the streets absolutely are extricated the margins and they're the one demographic among us that just really like never belong. They can't really reintegrate, and we don't allow it as a culture, and it kills me. It breaks my heart, and I just really felt that call, and really, truly, I have leaned heavily on my faith in God and asked him why he called me. And I truly believe that he equips the called. He doesn't call the equipped. I was not equipped to do this.
Wow.
I'm not even sure I still am. But I absolutely, every door keeps opening for us, and God has just, he has made his promises, kept his promises to us, and it's just been cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So do you think homelessness is a solvable problem in Tulare County? I mean, can we do this?
Yeah. Well, I do think it's mitigatable. I think part of the issue is that until we are able to get a grip on our greed and our unwillingness to share our resources, time, money, efforts, heartbreak, it's hard to be with someone, human to human, heart to heart, in their heartbreak. And these stories of folks that are living on the streets are heartbreaking. What we know about our work on the streets is that the greatest cause of homelessness is a profound, catastrophic loss of family. And that is painful, right? And a lot of us have had catastrophic losses of family, and we're not homeless, but it's the common theme with our folks who are on the streets. And so that's heartbreaking. It's hard. And I think that it's a matter of letting ourselves go there. But to your original question, is it solvable? Let me just say this. In the United States, it's shocking. We only have I shouldn't say only, it's still devastating, but we have 555,000 homeless folks, approximately, plus or minus. That is mitigatable. When you think about the millions of people that live in the United States, that is mitigatable. In Tulare County, we have approximately 1,200 folks who are living on the streets. That's a lot per capita for where we are. Is it mitigatable? I think so.
Yeah.
Given our population, I think it is.
Well, so let me ask you, last question.
Okay.
How can we help? Like, how would neighborhood church is a big faith community.
Yeah.
How can we come alongside? Do you need us to help? I mean, how can we serve?
We really need help. And help from neighborhood feels great because our missions are so aligned. We meet people where they are, and we love them like Jesus wherever we go. And so neighborhood folks are super special to me, especially since this is our home church, but we need the entire community, and we absolutely need volunteers. So just quickly, we do have a couple programs that are coming up. So we are trying to create our own community. So master plan community with homes, dignified incomes, through jobs and micro enterprise. There's a lot going on with that project. In the meantime, like I said before, we're cultivating community in other spaces. So the 99 Palms Hotel is a new project that folks have been rehoused in. The only problem is there's absolutely no community there. It's a great project, but it proves what we know is true. Housing will never solve homelessness, but community will. And so that project is going to be somewhat labor intensive, and there's tons of opportunities for volunteering.
Awesome.
So we need volunteers. We absolutely need donors. We need invitations into grants. Funding is a thing. It's hard, and I know you know this. It's hard to ask for money, but if we look at the economy that it is God's money, we're moving it from pocket to pocket. That helps. On Tuesday night, we're having that documentary here on campus. That's going to be super fun. If people show up, I think that's really inspiring and helps people understand our mission really well. And folks can join our ambassador guild, so people can be in our community and sharing the good news of what we're doing. And so there are tons of opportunities. They can go to our website and kind of check us out. And
the website is?
www.saltandlightworks.org. And there's a volunteer sign up and a newsletter that it can be signed up for. And that's helpful because you'll always know and have a finger on the pulse of what we're doing.
Awesome. Adrienne, thank you so much for your time. It's always great chatting with you.
Hey, I'm so honored that you had me here.
Awesome. Well, neighborhood, with all of that said, remember, this is Serve Week, and you can register to serve and with any of our partners, Salt and Light, Young Lives, the Justice Coalition, right? Sleep in Heavenly Peace, the Houston School, right? So you go to giveserve.love, scroll down to week 2, click volunteer now, and you'll see all of the opportunities. So again, make sure you do that. Our goal, 100% of us completing one service project this week. All right, love you guys. We'll see you soon.